Welcome to Intuition and Orgasms, a daring new podcast with Jen Hamilton and Greg Riley, where we dive deep into the intertwined worlds of spirituality, relationships, and self-discovery. We're here to shed light on the often untouched topics that everybody needs to wake up to. Expect raw, unfiltered conversations as we tackle subjects like emotional intelligence, trauma healing, conscious relationships, and yes, better orgasms. We combine our unique experiences and skills, Greg with his intuitive insights and therapeutic expertise, and Jen with her background in clinical hypnotherapy, coaching, Tantra, and esoteric psychology. Together, we aim to help you upskill your life, understand your true self, and build meaningful connections. Each episode will explore the tools and practices that foster personal growth and transformation. From unpacking childhood imprints and societal conditioning to discussing the impact of spirituality and energy on relationships, we leave no stone unturned. Plus, we'll share our personal stories of overcoming adversity, leaning into our shadows, and finding profound joy and connection on the other side. Join us on this journey to know yourself, communicate better, and ultimately, fuck better.
Good evening or good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to another podcast with Jen and I for Intuition and Orgasms. First episode was great. This is actually where we get into the nitty-gritty of it. So, Jen, how are you?
I'm fucking amazing. I'm so excited for tonight's conversation because we are going
places. Straight in.
Yeah, bang straight in. Yeah. How are you, Greg?
Straight in.
Let's
great. Fantastic. We've been back and forwards going, this is gold. This is great. Can't wait to get into it because it's so needed today and it's such a misconception. So, episode 2, we're going to talk about intimacy. What is it, Jen?
Oh, God, we've only got an hour. Let's break down the word intimacy. Into me, I see. So when we talk about intimacy in, the dynamic of a couple, we're knowing ourselves in the process of knowing each other and speaking into each other's languages, speaking into each other's ways of, relating and communicating and, connecting, not just necessarily in a sexual way. A lot of people think that intimacy is just behind closed doors. But as I will say always, I will bang on about this a lot. Intimacy is everything outside of penetration. Foreplay is everything outside of just penetration. It's not just what happens in the bedroom. It happens in everyday life.
That is so spot on. I can't tell you how many men think penetration is sex is intimacy. It's ridiculous. Intimacy is energy. It's energetics. It's getting into someone's soul, in their heart. It's listening. It's communicating. It's how you start the day. It's everything. And people have this thing about intimacy is when you turn on, turn off just before they have sex.
It's so far from it. It's like getting to the heart before you even connect to your genitals.
Yeah.
There's so much to this.
And you said, I want to tap into that part first because you and I know people very, very well. And you said something very important there, into me. And quite often I say to clients, you can't expect your partner to be intimate with you if you have no intimacy with yourself.
100%. Yes, it's so true. And people think like intimacy with self is just playing with themselves, getting themselves off. Oh God, there's so many avenues we get to dive into because it's so far from that. Like, tell us, Greg, in your version, what is self-intimacy to you?
Self-love, self-communication, self-acceptance. It's about understanding your own energy. It's understanding about what turns you on, what turns you off. It's understanding about you in that deeper state. It's asking yourself those questions. What makes me tick? And how can I bring that to myself, which then expands out to my partner or even, friends. You can be intimate with your friends. Again, intimacy is not sex, right? Intimacy is connection, communication. It's listening. It's seeing the other person beyond their identity. So there's a guy in the US, a CIA guy, Andrew Bassinet. He's actually, he calls it the public life, the private life, and the secret life. Your intimacy resides in your secret life,
Oh, yeah.
right? But not many people go there, and it's understanding that secret part of you. And intimacy is the dance of the dark and the light.
Yes.
It's not always the light, because the dark and the light play well together. Because
Yeah.
there's a dark side to everybody,
Mm.
and
Why
that
do why do you think in your line of work, what you see with clients, why do you think people are so scared to discover their own version of self-intimacy and go into the darkness?
because I don't have any self love.
Yeah.
It's all externally validated. What can I get? What can I have? What can I show people? What's my public image? But if I show this vulnerability and where I have my insecurities, what will people think of me? But that's
Mm.
intimacy. That's to wrap your arms around that part of you and grab it and show it some love. And then from there, sex becomes a spiritual experience.
Oh yeah. It's like, I don't know. Let's do you know what? Let's fucking talk about it. It's the
Let's
time
go.
when it's where you see God.
Yes.
It is that mind-blowing that it takes you literally to a different dimension. And if you are not so deeply connected with your partner that you feel like that you are invincible, that you are limitless, that you are infinite, that you are so far beyond your human body, then there's work to be done.
Yeah, and it's that place where it's that safety, it's that secret place, it's the place where you can just fall into it, because it's a dance, and it's this seduction you have with each other. It's a play. It's this really fun thing, right? Where you sort of just go past your wife in the morning, tap her on the shoulder, and just keep walking,
Yes.
walk with
Yeah.
her, right? And just look at her a certain way, and kind of, I see you, and then just keep walking. It's like there's a seduction with intimacy.
Oh yeah. And that's the thing. It's outside of the bedroom. It's in the day-to-day. It's in, you know, responding to text messages, not necessarily in a flirtatious way to get sex at the end of the
Yeah.
day, but truly deeply caring about the person that you're in relationship with, because you love them and because you know that they love you, and you know that neither of you give 50-50 to a relationship. You both give 100%. So
Yeah.
you're giving 100% of yourself both into the dynamic of the relationship, and you're both able to receive each other fully.
Yeah, and that's the whole part. That is the light and the dark, right? To accept each other's, positive and negative attributes as well, too, to provide the safe container for that, right? And it's a very powerful alchemy, let's call it that, in that space, be able to share that space with a person you love deeply, but you can't do it from a place of lack yourself.
Yes. And do you know what's harder? I want to go a little bit personal here. From my personal perspective in this space, is that one of the hardest things for me is being so deeply aligned with intimacy, so deeply in touch with myself, and then being in relation with someone who's not that.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you've got one wide awake person and one sleepy head. Like it's very different if you've got two sleepy heads.
Yeah.
But then again, when you've got two wide awake people, it is phenomenal. The
Yeah.
intimacy is absolutely phenomenal, but it is fucking hard to be awake with someone. I'm going to call it awake and asleep. I know that's probably polarizing to some people. Work on that. So there's nothing. Yeah, I find, especially as a woman, like let's go there, because let's talk about what happens to females in this space. I can personally speak into this space, then we can talk about males. But what happens is when a woman is truly seen and valued and nurtured and honored and respected, and she's made to feel like a queen by her king, she is going to naturally open. It is going to take emotion in order for her legs to be in motion and open. And so it's only when she feels safe enough to open, to express herself, to be all that she can be in an environment that's welcomed and worshipped, that is when she's going to be like Niagara Falls, put it that way.
Yeah.
So her body is going to respond. A woman is not going to respond to short, sharp, and direct, to quick, we've got somewhere to be, let's get out the door, to being rushed, to being disrespected, to being disregarded, to being undervalued. She's not going to open in that way. She might a little bit, because there's physical sensations or touch that might get her in the mood, but for her to truly open, for her to truly be in her heart space, and then open her legs and just allow her man into her, for true intimacy and connection through eye contact, through heart contact, through touch, breath, pleasure, all of this, it's going to take time. She needs to be seen. She needs to be valued. She needs to be loved. She needs to be honored.
That's so good.
Thank
That
you
is
for
so
coming to my
good.
TED Talk.
Okay. Let's talk about the dark side of it. That's fantastic. And look, if there are guys, and I know there's guys listening to this, right? This is something that I'm going to tap into now about. A lot of men have this performance-based identity. Harder, biggest, stronger, the best, all that kind of stuff. We have this thing, it's about, that it's going to be, like you said, it's going to be this alpha male kind of person where it's performance-based in a way. That doesn't get women off.
It really does not. Speaking from a woman that knows how to get off, that does not get us off.
Man, if you really, really want to have a very rock solid relationship and a very intimate relationship and a highly sexual, spiritual connection with like, listen to what Jen just said, because it's about intimacy, it's about intuition, it's about communication, it's about seeing the other person, it's about listening to the other person, it's about understanding their body language, it's about connecting with them. And you see a lot of men's coaches out there today have no clue about that. It's all about rah performance. And I've been in these groups, right, where it's all about performance and 10xing your business, right? It's just, that's not going to increase your intimacy because you got more money in the bank. You can have less money in the bank, but have a connection with your partner at a deeply spiritual, intimate level. And then there is a relationship.
Yeah. And you realize that you are naturally more abundant and open to working in a different way, receiving in a different way. So my I call it the 3 F's from what I want in life, right? I want to be well fed, well financed, and well fucked. When I have those 3 needs met, I'm in the fullest expression of myself.
Yeah.
I'm wildly abundant. Miracles are happening. I'm in this like motion of like invincibility. I'm in the softness of my feminine, and all of the things that happen. It takes not only meeting myself there and understanding my deepest desires. And for the woman, it takes us being able to communicate what it is that we desire. Because even though we've got these men that might think that, they're in the alpha space and they're this and they're that, women, we also need to communicate with the men what it is that we need and desire and hold them accountable to this as well. We can't just say, oh, well, this is what Jen said. And then, off you go and you go into the same old patterns. That's not okay, because you're not going to get anywhere with it. It's truly sitting down going, I need to be so wildly raw and open and vulnerable to share about how I'm feeling, what it is that I truly deeply desire, what it is that turns me on, where on my body turns me on, what turns me off that I don't like, what gets me in the mood, where I'm at in my cycle to determine where, I'm feeling my most sexy. That's a whole different conversation within itself.
And the whole conversation.
It is. And sometimes it does feel as though it like men are few and far between that understand this and that are on board to that want to connect with a woman that is all of that in the fullest expression of herself. But I'm telling you now, the women that are there are high value women. And not only are you going to get incredible sex, you are going to have a queen standing by you the whole way.
Look, I and this isn't funny, like of the men I do coach, when I tell them that 80% of women don't orgasm through intercourse, they look at me blankly. Like I go, what are you talking about, Greg? It's like, no, don't you know that? Like, there's other ways to have sex with women, and most of it happens outside of intercourse.
Mm-hmm.
Like, majority of women who do not orgasm through intercourse, and they kind of just, like, look, I'm looking to speak a foreign language. It's the first time they're hearing it. Like, we don't teach people about true intimacy through anything growing up.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah.
So in that space where you got this flow of energy coming up through the female, but then the man meets her at that level, because the man who actually steps into that place, who is expressing very similar traits, is not weak. So I get this kind of thing where, well, if a man's showing their vulnerability, a man's showing their intuition, a man's showing their emotional resilience, emotional availability, and they're providing that space as well too, kind of, he says, well, it's all emotional, guys. We want the king, we want the warrior. It's like, no, the real man has the package.
Mm-hmm.
He has he's like the wizard
Yeah.
archetype. He's the magician.
Yeah.
Because when you have a guy who has all that stuff, he is sort of the alpha male in that space. Because he is the protector, the provider, the safety. But he's also the one who's emotionally connected, who sees and then gets down and listens. Because a lot of guys try and fix. Like our job as well. There's something happening. We've got to try and fix her emotional thing. No, let it go through it. Let it just feel into that space. And then, like you're saying, is the communication. A lot of guys don't know how to communicate. It's like, well, where are the erogenous zones on your body? Like, have you asked that of your wife? What are you talking about? Like, no, ask her. What does she like? What does she not like? Like, and especially with women, we got statistics these days, like 1 in 5, 2 out of 5 women have had sexual trauma. Have a conversation about that with your partner as well, too.
Yeah, let
Like,
her
the conversation. People just have sex and think that's intimacy. Like, no, have a conversation about the whole lot and be open about it. Like, what do you like, what you don't like, and mix it up and play around with it and all that kind of stuff. It's like sex is taboo or something.
Yeah, it's so true. And you know what I realize is that for women, we are so intuitive. Okay. And we can pick up on men when they're not opening, when they're not in touch with their emotions, when they're hiding something. We have this innate ability to connect in with our intuition. So we're going to pick up on, the fact that they're not fully present. What we want is presence. We want openness. We want vulnerability. Vulnerability makes us moist.
And vulnerability is not crying, because people kind of think, oh, I'm vulnerable, I've got to cry my eyes out. No, vulnerability is this opening.
Yes.
It's to be okay with every aspect of yourself.
Yes, and continuing to lean into the parts that feel uncomfortable. Like it's saying, I've got, I'm having feelings for you. I'm feeling this way. I admire this about you. I'm not sure what's going on for me, and this is the shadow side for me. Hell, it's getting on a plane and traveling across the country to be with someone after a few days of meeting them.
Exactly. It's courageous.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not this vulnerability, which is all weakness kind of stuff, right? That is not what we're talking about. That's not vulnerability. That's just weakness. This is true courage. This is bravery. This is an aspect of a human that, again, dances with the dark and the light, who knows how to mix that, soup together per se kind of thing, right? Because you need to be able to mix it's not the good parts, but the bad parts, and be able to transmute that in a way as well too.
Yeah, and I think like from the woman's perspective is to be able to hold that space wide open for the man to be in that too, because we need each other. Like there is no alpha here in the masculine and the feminine. We genuinely need each other in co-creation. And so in order for a man to feel as though he can open and express and be vulnerable, let it be known, women, that we get to hold that space wide open for him to drop into that and feel safe and nurtured and seen and valued and honored for doing that as well, and letting him know, even probably, smaller step by step, that he's safe, he's safe, because for so long men have been told, don't cry, you're weak, you're this, you're that, you're a pussy, all of the things that have led men to believe that they are not able to be the expression. Now we're like, oh, I don't have sex with you if you open yourself up to me and you express yourself, but then they're just like, wow, how do I do that? So I think as women, we need to remind these beautiful men that are in our lives that, you know what, it's safe for you to be in this expression. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to hold this against you. In fact, tell me more. Tell me what this is like for you.
And the hard thing is, and you kind of the question there is, well, most men are probably thinking this right now. Where do I go? How do I do this? Right? It is a very unique skill set to be able to have someone to teach both the male and the female about how to step into the space. It just can't be your everyday kind of therapist that you go, right, let's, because it does take a certain type of person to be able to lead you into that space. And especially from a, what's it like, and this is coming from a female's perspective, what's it like for you to experience a man in that power?
Oh.
got a few minutes, go away, come back.
Sponsored by Kleenex. It's honestly, it should truly be seen and valued and honored for being in the fullest expression as a woman, and to be just held in that space, and for a man to know that that he can be in his fullest expression because he feels safe with you as well. That is intimacy. Like, that is the deepest connection. And it has got nothing to do with, this is before we even get to physical touch.
Yeah.
And this is before we even, remove clothing. This is before we start breathing down each other's necks and making, eye contact and, putting on some candles and some sexy music. This is before we even get to that point. It's just this deep inner knowing, this sense of like just connection, that you are each other's single person, that there's no one else that's coming into the field like that's distracting either of them as well. Provided you're in a monogamous space and that's what you've decided on. It's talking and openly communicating about how you feel and holding that wide open. And so, when women start to truly feel seen and heard, it is everything, because all we want is to just be seen, is to be honored, is to be just felt like that we're not here to be put down, and that we're not objects, and we're not pieces of meat, especially the ones that have been through any sort of sexual abuse or trauma. Especially them, because if they've had something taken from them or done to them, then there is repair that needs to be done. There is a whole level of safety that needs to be rebuilt, through relating with a masculine that is there to hold her through that. And it's a big deal. And I don't know what the exact statistics are, but it's a very fucking high number of women that have gone through this.
It is. And on the vice versa, you've got men who want to be expressed in a certain way as well too, because we want the same thing. We want to be seen and heard and valued and respected and all that kind of stuff, because that's what we're needing. But too often it's about relationship these days are about how can I get something from you? What can you give me to feel like, well, as we were talking about before, is that one of the first things to actually build intimacy is to build that with yourself. And you can't do this. You can't go into a relationship and try to build intimacy and expect it to, well, I want you to give it to me to fill up my hole. But it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to be a two-way street. And I think, in a relationship, both people in that couple need to be on board with this. Like, this is not just a one person can go off and do this and come back and be like, oh, yeah, I'm good to go. And the other person's like, well, I have no idea what you're on about now. And in fact, you've outgrown me and now we've got problems. That
happens.
Magnet.
That's happened. Exactly.
It's happened to me. It's happened to me a couple of times in relationships in my lifetime. And, for me now, it's like, okay, I know what I want. I know what my needs are. I know what my non-negotiables are. I know that, the highest level of connection comes through communication, spirituality, and sexuality for me.
Yeah.
They're my highest values in the space of relationship, and all aspects of those three things. If they're not being met, then I'm going to end up resenting that person, that I'm with.
Yeah, correct. So when we talk about energetics, because there's some people absolutely get this about energetics of who you are and what you bring to a relationship. But I'm speaking from a guy perspective right now, I'm probably going, what the hell are you talking about? What's going on? When we talk about energetics of a relationship, I'm talking about how you present yourself, how you show up, your personal energy. And then from that, then that creates the connection with somebody else, because you can sit there and you can just touch someone's hand in a very soft way, and that can be very intimate.
Yeah,
right?
Or if you're like me and you've got really long fingernails,
It's like
I can send a guy in literally 4.2 seconds.
yeah. And you can, like, people can actually have orgasms without penetration sex through this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, because you just recently did some Tantra stuff over in Perth, didn't you?
I did, yeah. So I've done level 1 and 2 of Tantra, and I'm continuing my studies later this year to become a full practitioner and coach in the space as well, because I see the need that we have in this world to open up this conversation for women, for men, and for relationships combined. And it's so funny because ever since I've come back from Perth, I've had so many people ask me, when are you teaching Tantra? When are you
Yeah,
teaching Tantra?
exactly.
When are you teaching Tantra? Because people are like, there's something in this,
Yeah.
because a lot of people think, like, let's just break down what Tantra actually is. The word Tantra means to weave. The first principle of Tantra is know thyself. There is this misconception that Tantra is about kinky sex or group sex or bondage and BDSM. It's got literally nothing to do with that.
I never saw it that way. I always thought it was about energetic connection. I never saw it about being
so many people. And there's
Really?
a lot of I guess there's a darker side of the industry where there's certain like temple nights and BDSM parties and events that put on a front that they call it like tantric and sacred connection.
Yeah.
When it's very different to that. Yeah.
There's some dark energy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you're a man and you want to, like, learning Tantra, learning the space of communication is like a cheat code for life.
Yeah.
Because once you get in it, it's a powerful tool. It's not meant to be used for manipulation, because that's not how Tantra works. It's about real essence of powerful spiritual energy. And when you tap into that, not only does your sex life improve, but you'd be surprised what outside of your relationship actually improves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm telling you now, the ratio that I have like personally witnessed is like 90% to 10%. So 90% of women in the space compared to 10%. Like, you want to go and do a Tantra course. Because you already know that they're going to be like interested in, walking that path of sacred sexuality, of spirituality, of discovering the intersection of spirituality and sexuality, because it is a crossover. It's about using the breath. It's about using touch. It's about using energy. I've learnt it's a beautiful technique called the Anmo massage. And it's part of my Tantra training. And the way that I just dance through gliding over a naked body with hot oil to be able to just provide just this physical touch and energetic aspect to my partner and take them on a journey. It doesn't have to be my partner. I've done it on friends as well, to be able to provide this beautiful experience that can be so wildly spiritual and sexual, but there's no penetration that has to happen. It's the discovery of what it is that our bodies do like, because at the end of the day, we're all adults here. We're here for pleasure. We can experience, pleasure regularly. In fact, pleasure is our birthright. Take the clitoris, for example. The clitoris literally only exists for pleasure for women. It's got no other function. I'm literally a woman with a clitoris that, makes sure that it's used to its fullest potential, like I do my lungs and my heart,
But the problem is, most men don't know how to dry up the clitoris at all.
Yeah, so can we break down the fact that it's not a doorknob that needs to be pressed because you can't hear it ringing on the other side?
Oh God, we have to do. We have to seriously do
to the left and it's not to the right. It's in the center.
Poking around the dark. Yeah, look, yeah. We can talk forever about that. Look, there's so much that people can learn from, going down that path of, understanding Tantra in that very deep spiritual level. But it's sort of a gift for people, because, like you say, it's used for pleasure, but it's so much more deeper than that. And most of our sexual encounters these days are transactional.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you look at Tinder.
You get me off, I'll get you off. Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing to it. There's no connection. There's no soul. It's just a pure. It is like, we give you money back for this stuff. It's purely a transactional receipt.
Yeah.
And people are becoming this sex has lost its spiritual meaning or its esoteric meaning about the connection between two people. I'm not saying people can't have, multiple partners, multiple sex, but the more you have, more transactional it becomes. And then you get to the point where you're in a relationship, you think, well, there's nothing here. It's like, yeah, there's nothing, because it's become so transactional between two people at a time that you've forgotten the real deeper thing about why we're actually doing this in the first place.
Yeah, and it's built on just a physical sensation. Like, physical sensations are great. Like, let's
Yeah.
not deny the fact that we're all just a bunch of nerve endings feeling good at the end of the day. But also, like, when you can truly deeply connect with someone on a heart space, to just have like just this connection that just feels electric, like you are able to just move energy between each other's body. And we talk about that a lot in Tantra. It's about using the
Yeah.
breath and using different motions to literally exchange energy. And orgasm, full body, like mind-blowing orgasm, gets to happen outside of touch and penetration when we're using energy, and it's so powerful. It's very healing as well, because if we talk about the frequency of pleasure, like the state of orgasm is the highest state that we can get in physically in our human experience. So when we're in that higher state, that's where we manifest from. That's where we create magic from. That's where, our mind is open. That's where we heal our bodies from, because we're not at a low vibrational frequency. We're not in guilt or shame or disgust. Like, we're not vibrating at that space. We are just so high and open and expansive, and pure fucking magic happens from that space.
Oh, it's great, because it's also a gift that you're in a space where you're giving a part of you to another person.
A very private part, like a very private, intimate part. No one, not many other people see those bits on you.
No.
Not many other people see your legs in that position, or your ass in the air,
Yeah.
or, your true, raw, authentic self. Like, we have to drop the idea of perfectionism, the expectation of perfectionism from the other person or within ourselves. I went through, especially, when I was with my partner after having babies, my whole body changed. And I just didn't, at the time, I didn't want to be seen. I was like, no, no, like, I was so ashamed of it, and he, walked me out the other side of that, saying well, this is what happens. Like, you've just given birth, kind of thing, and so we have to look at where our body image issues came from, where we lacked connection with our caregivers, our parents, and in friendship spaces where we felt rejected and we made it mean something. We get to look at that deep subconscious programming that says, I'm not good enough, or this person doesn't see me this way and I feel less than. Like, there's so many layers to get through, and this is why it's so supportive to work with a coach or a practitioner to help you find the things that are going to get you blocked. Because it's all well and good to listen to us, and we've done the work and we're in the space and we have the conversations and we coach the people, and we've both they've been there, done that, got the fridge magnet. However, if there's a block of some sort, if there's something that's holding you back, seek someone out to work with them to get through this, because on the other side of that is the mind-blowing stuff, and it's beyond the physical orgasm.
Oh, it's well beyond.
It's a life orgasm. It's a life orgasm.
When you experience, you're gonna go, oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no comparison. There is zero comparison from having a spiritual experience versus most people. Because most people's relationships, this is a missing part. This is like a huge missing part to why relationships are failing these days, because people that deal with their trauma, they come in with these trauma into the relationships. They're not dealing with it. They expect the relationship or the other person to fix their trauma. There's no talk about sex or intimacy at all, because they don't know either. And it's like, well, where do we go from here?
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's like embarrassment around bringing it up. There's shame involved in what they're experiencing. There's also a lack of safety to open up and talk about the things, especially when you've been in a relationship for quite some time and perhaps you've only just recently or, for a long time come up against this.
Yeah.
To then go, well, hang on a second. We haven't, in all the things that we've done in this relationship, we actually haven't experienced true deep intimacy and connection and openness. But we've built up levels of resentment. We've built up anger. We've been fighting so much. Like, let's talk about how people can open up when they've gone through, like, say, for example, they've been in a relationship for 10 years, amazing at the start. Everyone has their honeymoon period. Then comes, the breakdown of, communication, sometimes resentment, sometimes anger, like life gets in the way. How do people prepare that, essentially, Greg, and then step into this space of intimacy? What is the process that you would guide someone through that would help them? Like, what needs to happen for them to return to love?
Oh, it starts with, like you said, starts with you. So the first part will be, again, what's stopping you from entry into your true self? What are the blocks in the space? And then you understand about perspective versus the way you perceive life. So what your perspective on that is. And then once you step into your true self, you understand what the relationship is about. Then you understand how the other person view of the world is, right? How they see the world, understand their history, their background, why they say things, why they act the way that they do. So you've got this whole, so it starts with a rebuilding of the relationship, a rebuilding of their own identity, a rebuilding of their identity of the other person, because the relationship you have with the other person is not over there. Your relationship with the other person is in your mind. The way you view them is based on how you feel about yourself.
Oh, bang on. Exactly that. Yeah.
So you've got to rebuild that first, right? But you can't go straight into Tantra. You just can't, it's not game one is not Tantra. And then when you have the baseline, okay, let's then talk about how we want to grow this. What do we want to see? How are we going to show up for each other? How are we going to show up for ourselves? What do we want to create? And again, like you said, it's about a place of, there's some probably touchy subjects, especially if you've had sexual trauma, and you can say, this stuff is off board for me. This ain't happening. You got to respect that. And you go, well, I would like to try this. I'd like to try that. And it's about exploration. It's about, you're going to screw some shit up royally. You're going to fuck some shit up so bad it's not funny. You're going to have some of the worst sexual experiences you've ever had in your whole life. But it's about having fun with it, because some stuff's going to work. You might have some candles, all of a sudden, let's just say you want to drip wax on someone's back and it burns the shit out of you. It's like, let's get it off, get it off, get it off. Like, oh, we're not doing that one again. All right. It's exploration. And then you might find you might want to use, vibrators or whatever like that. You can explore that space. You might just go, try that. It's all about communication. It's about, and this is where you need that trust. It's someone to sit there with you and help you communicate that. You need a very trusted guide in that space to go, okay, well, how's this going? How's this working? Because without that, you sort of just flying blind in the space of just trying to find your way through something. Because if you could do it now, you would have done it by now. But because you're sort of coming from left field, you need that kind of person to go, yeah, don't try hot wax again. That ain't going to work. Right? Or it did work. No, and it's all, we're not here to judge what you do, right? So what my values are from my experience with my wife, are that I should also put my judgments on whatever about, if you want to dress up, go for it, right? If you want to do kinky stuff outside, go for it, right? It's all in a way that's, if you want to touch with just purely just about massage and learning about energetics over your hand and stuff like that, and being able to just raise your across there and see what you can feel from that space, right? It's all there's no boundaries whatsoever, as long as it's a safe environment for both of you. Mm-hmm. So in a roundabout way, to answer the question, is first is yourself. Second thing is the other person, understand them, then the relationship, and then you explore.
Yeah.
And you explore with just curiosity, pure curiosity, with no expectations of anything. Expectations go.
Oh, that's such a big part of it, is releasing those expectations for it to be a certain way or experience a certain outcome, because expectation is just setting you up for failure, honestly.
Oh, it is. I mean, it's, again, back to the guy stuff, is we're just 20 minutes, half an hour, we're a king. Look how fucking good we are. It's like, if you spoke to your wife, she wanted you off her 25 minutes ago.
That's so true.
She was checked out 25. She's like, please hurry up and get this done. But we're going, we're going to be the longest and the hardest. And it's not that. I know women.
Yeah.
So I know women with partners who have smaller appendages, right? They have better sex with them because their partner's more connected to them than the guy who's bigger, harder, and stronger.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about, ram their hard. It's like, right?
No.
So that's the intuition part. That's the connection part. That's the thing that men are lacking these days, is the ability to tap into that space.
Yeah. Yeah. What advice would you give to someone? Say, for example, you had a woman come to you and say, Greg, I'm so excited to explore this with my partner. I'm really into this. I want to work on myself. She goes away and says to him, hey, babe, let's do the work on this. Let's, then, maybe look at Tantra. And he comes back and is like, oh, what the fuck would I do that for? Oh, that's shit. Oh, personal development. Oh, spirituality.
Yeah.
What would you say to a woman who's like, right? Because I see this all the time. So
Yeah.
a man's perspective on this. What would you say to a woman that's in this place and the man's just like, why the fuck would I do that?
Well, I'd never force someone to do it. You can't force someone to do it. If you drag has someone come kicking and screaming in there, quite often 9 out of 10 times it'll fail. Second thing is that, can I speak to you? Will be the thing is that I know you've relayed something, but you probably relayed things not the right way. I get it, but it probably needs to come from me, because then I can spit a different thing about, this is not what she said. Be like, dude, how do you want to have the best sex of your life? Oh, no, I'm interested.
All of a sudden he's like, oh,
I'm interested.
Oh, someone outside of me said I could have something, but I didn't believe I could have myself. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's all about, again, because she's probably coming from a certain way about trying to fix problems and all that kind of stuff. And I'll turn it around and to speak to the male desire is to go, well, I know, this is, but how would you like to have the most amazing connection with your partner? How would you like to have, especially for men, right? How would you like to outperform every other male that's on the planet? How would you like to be able to have one over every other dude out there, especially the whatever alpha male kind of stuff, right? How would you like to have the secret to having your wife trying to rip your clothes off every night? Oh, I'm interested now. Do you got to play to people's egos, right? Sometimes, because again, like you said, men and women are different, right? Men are visual, women are energetic.
Yeah.
Right. And so you've sort of just, and so it's a hard thing, right? Like, but you can't drag someone into this in that kind of situation. Because I was going to ask you that same question. How do you do that? You really need to have both of you involved, and you need to have the person who's running the session actually speak to both people, because they're going to have different needs. And we're going to have one kind of need out of it. The man's going to have a different need out of it. But you can sort of meld it together about the common goal about having this spiritual relationship. I know it's a bit of a wanky word, but a spiritual relationship, because that's what it really is in the end. Because people, it's what they're seeking. People are getting into relationships to have this spiritual connection. But like these days, it's like we're going to go in a complete tangent and piss off a major part of society.
Yes, go there.
It's fucking OnlyFans. We have all these people out there selling their body, call themselves content creators, right? You're not a content creator, you're a porn star, right? Get it around your head. You're a porn star for money, right? And then you want to have intimacy with your husband when every other man on the planet is paying $7 a minute to see every part of you? You can't. Like, come on. What do you expect?
Yeah.
How do you expect your husband to connect with you, or your partner or your boyfriend to connect, or vice versa? If you're a guy on there and you got women looking, how do you expect your partner then to have intimacy with you? And people are paying $5 a minute to see you jack off.
I mean, unless it's their king. Yeah.
What do you expect?
Yeah.
Like you said before, sharing this place with someone is a very, very, it's a special part of you. And it's something that's quite sacred, and it's an energetic connection. So, it's that space of, intimacy is something that can break through anything. Like that love and connection, which we're all seeking, right? We're all seeking that self-acceptance, that self-love, that connection. We're all wanting to find that space, and it's available to us if we want to take the opportunity. It's always been our right. It's always been our birthright. It's who we are. We are energetic, spiritual, loving, sexual beings. Like Kundalini awakening is a sexual experience.
Oh yes, it is. Oh my gosh, yes. It's the opening. Kundalini is kind of like, it's the activation of this. So it's the discovery of, it's the serpent that weaves through, and it just kind of moves through the body like, hello, I'm here. I noticed after my this multiple sexual awakenings, the way my body moved differently, the way I could dance differently, the way my confidence shifted, because the way I just kind of like go through life, everybody says to me, like everybody that comes into contact is like, Jen, there's something about your energy, right? And then they're like, how do you do all this stuff? Like, for example, I just want to give you a bit of I'm just going to step into my ego for a second. I went skydiving today. I took a client skydiving today, right? Yesterday I ran this fucking epic workshop for women where we did cacao and we did some pyrography on some hats. Like we're doing the podcast. I'm doing like Tantra training. Like I'm doing all of this stuff. I am so energetic and I'm so lit up by life. And I just have this abundance of energy. Why? Because I'm in touch with my pleasure. I'm in touch with my sexuality. I'm in touch with my spirituality. And I have this love of life where I feel just so guided by everything that turns me on, really. And I'm not just talking, I'm following and rubbing my clitoris on everything. I'm talking about, I'm following my full body fuck yes, because I'm connected to my intuition.
Yeah.
And so I've said to people, they're kind of like, how do you do this? And I'm like, watch how I do this. Watch me. Watch who I be in this world. Watch how my body moves. Watch how I speak. And then if you want to learn how to do it, let me coach you.
Yeah.
I'll talk you through the process.
Because this is funny. Like I was talking to someone just a while ago about manifesting, and it's like I said, and there's this person, the whole vision board and stuff like that. Normal manifesting gurus are out there talking bullshit, right? I said, do you actually know that manifesting is a sexual experience? What are you talking about? So it's primarily a sexual experience, manifestation. So what happens when that awakens in you?
That life force energy, like that is what Eros is. Our erotic life force energy, when that is activated, when we come from that space, literally, when we're in that space, when we are just guided by life force energy, when we're just, our bloods are just pumping with pleasure and desire, and we're just dripping in life's goodness, and everything is just juicy and pleasurable, you are just magnetic. I've found like things have happened in my business, in relationships, in life, like just the way people respond to me in my energy. I'm like, oh, this is working, more than any fucking vision board ever has, or any more than like listening to Abraham Hicks every morning to get in the vortex. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Abraham and I love the vortex. But unless you're actually having a somatic experience, unless you're embodied in the wisdom, like unless you're actually like working with the energy to move it through you, unless you're, bringing it, for a woman, through the heart space, through the yoni, feeling that, that magnetic and feeling desirable, and in this world as if everything is just here to pleasure you. You'll get it. Like once you step into this, once you understand what magnetism truly is, and why people are so drawn to just being in your field, and they want to pay you money to do so, because they're like, there's just something about you, and you're like, oh, okay, I get it now.
That's the thing. It's like you said before, it's this presence. Like people go, what the hell's with you? It's like, what's come off you? It's like, it's just my natural state.
Yeah.
That's who I am. That's who I must. That's who I really am.
Yeah. Yep. I notice even like when because I just love dancing, I just put music on in the house. In fact, I got this ginormous speaker the other day, and I feel so sorry for my neighbors that can hear it, because the bass just pumps. And I just put on sexy music and go for it. And it's just me. No one can see it. I'm not performing for anyone, but I'm just moving my body in a way that is just so sensual, and just working with the energy that's flowing through me. And fuck, it feels good. I turn myself on doing it.
That's the point.
Exactly. We have to be able to turn ourselves on and know what lights us up, so that then, when I'm with my partner, I can say to him, this is the space that I want to play in, come and play with me, Yeah.
We've got the other side of it though, shame and guilt.
Oh, yes.
Like a lot of the population has shame and guilt around. So they're probably thinking right now, you guys are so, what kind of drugs are you guys smoking tonight? We're in different states, we're not. But there is a lot of stuff with that stops us from going there because of society and things or the way we've been brought up. Well, I was Catholic, so this is completely taboo for me being a Catholic, right? So,
Exhibit A and B over here.
that's there for the reason. It's there to stop you from exploring the space.
Yes, absolutely. And the thing is, and I'm telling you now, I grew up exactly the same way. Catholic household, Italian parent, Italian mother, like very sort of strict side of things, and
You'll go to hell.
yeah, pretty much, right. And so, what I want to impart is that the shame and guilt, first of all, is not wrong. There's no part of you that's wrong for experiencing this.
Yeah.
And it can walk alongside you in a pleasurable state.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to counteract. It's all of you that exists, because all of you are whole and complete as you are, including the shame and guilt and including the pleasure. So when you realize that you can walk alongside, I mean, you can choose. You can walk through an experience experiencing shame and guilt, or you can walk through an experience feeling pleasure. You're still walking through the experience, but you get to decide which one you want to tap into.
But also, how would it be? How powerful is it to walk through the experience in shame and guilt?
Oh, as well. Oh, yes, absolutely. Like, just sit in your shit.
That's the dark stuff. That's the dark. That's the part. That's the balance. That's the
work.
Go in there and get that.
Yeah, get uncomfortable. Like shame and guilt. Oh, I'm mindful of the time, but because we try and share our own personal experience. I'd love to hear from you, Greg, and I'll share afterwards. Like, tell us about some shame or guilt that you hold around sexuality, or that you had held.
I had the comparison stuff. I had the complete comparison stuff. Like, purely on the fact of alpha male, ripped body, pecs, like, completely down that path. That's the reason why I got into this, and purely the reason why I went down this path into this spiritual part of it, being a weird ass psychic. But that was part of it, is to go, well, there's another aspect of this that I don't want to go down that path. That's just not me. That's just not who I am. I'm this sensitive, caring, intuitive, emotional, intelligent kind of guy. So I was drawn to it because I had this, fear of insecurity because of the bigger, harder performing, alpha male kind of stereotype, especially in the men's space. We're rammed down our throat about that's the persona, that's the perfection, that's what every woman's looking for, right? So we're on the man side, we're sort of, pushed into this place where we're trying to compete with these guys or become these guys because we're told that performance is everything, and it's a place that you just can't get to, right? So I came out from a place of pure just, I'm a piece of shit, I'm hopeless, right? I can't compete with these guys. But now I run rings around those guys.
Now you teach.
They can't compete with me.
They pay money to learn from you.
They pay money to learn from me now, right? Because so it was out of a need of insecurity that I went there. Because, you have these things where all these girls are after these hot guys. I'm thinking, well, how do I shape up? And then I realized the art of spiritual sexuality across the board. And like, I went and downloaded a course. I did a whole 12-week course on the vagina.
Wow.
Like a whole 12-week course. And they had models that they had like plastic models of vaginas and the clitoris and then the vulva and, when I touch certain females. I've done a whole lot. I've done some weird shit, right? But that's the point of it, is to actually, in that space, I probably spent 2 or 3 years learning about, this stuff. You don't learn it in 12 weeks, but, it's that space of being able to explore that and understand, the energetics behind that stuff is to, like you said, Eros. I did a whole, amazing thing on Eros itself about, learning about myself and my intimacy and my vulnerability and my insecurities and what drove that. And when I let go of all that stuff, then, bang, light shows, right? Me and my partner, we had this thing about blue specks go off. You see these little blue things go off like last night. Yeah, Greg, there's this blue thing around your chest. Like, it is. You can't compete. Like, this is the thing. It's like, if you're a guy out there trying to this shit, this stuff, again, like Jen said, I've got these guys coming to me now to be able to learn about how to connect infinitely with their females. And like, I've had clients go, holy shit, what did you do to my husband? I said, you haven't even started yet. Like, it's like, we've never had sex like this. It's like, yeah, and it gets better.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it truly does. And for men and women, like when you learn how to tap into and why to tap into that space and the power of it, you see stars. It is like literally the first time this happened to me, I was like, oh God, I literally just saw God. I'm like, I don't know where I've been. And it's
Yeah.
like my body just did these things. I was like, I knew I was good, but I didn't know I was that good.
It's a presence. It's a place you go to. It's not. It's like time stops.
Yeah. Yes.
Like
Yes.
everything else stops around you. Like it's this timeless place.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it should, because
Yeah.
life is fucking busy. Life is wild. Life is hectic. There's a lot of things to get done in the day.
Yeah.
But when you carve out time for intimacy with your partner and beautiful, like connected, sacred sex and intimacy and touch and just being together, it doesn't even have to include intercourse. We need this in our life. We owe it
Yeah.
to ourselves to create that space for our partner and for ourselves to drop into this, because sure, life gets busy, but we need to come back in again. And I always refer it back to the breath. With the breath, expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction, expansion, we go out into the world, contract, we come back in, day and night, light
Yeah.
and dark,
Yeah.
summer and winter, we're expanding out, we go out into the world, we do the jobs, we pay the bills, we do the thing, we come back and we go inwards, and then we're on this intimate journey, and then we go back out again, and we let's just come back to our breath.
And the thing is, like most men are intimate to get sex, and to be able to be intimate and not have sex, that again is another superpower, because then you're building trust together with the connection. Like
Yeah.
even we talk about with some of my guys, like let's have sex and not ejaculate. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? No, we're not going to just no. I think it's like, because it's so it's we can do many episodes on this, like many episodes on this, especially around the dynamics of it, the way it sort of works. But like you were talking before, Jen, about how you still come into it as well.
How what? Sorry.
How you came into this space as well too, like like your history, your past, and
Oh gosh. Well, I want to circle back to like the shame and guilt part, because I
yeah,
started recognizing where I was holding on to this. And the story that I wanted to share is that I was in a relationship where I had desires and I had needs and I had fantasies, and I didn't feel as though I was able to communicate what they were. So I
yeah,
held a lot of shame around what it was that I was fantasizing about a lot of guilt that I wasn't like, when I was participating with my partner, my mind was elsewhere.
yeah,
And because I was so disconnected in the relationship, after every time we had sex, I'd reach for the vibrator to finish,
yeah, yeah,
and I was like, hang on a second. I don't think this is how it's supposed to be.
yeah, yeah,
And I had a huge awakening. So my first ayahuasca journey, my acacia journey, which is the Australian vine of the ayahuasca, that woke up the divine feminine within me. I had my ancestors behind me, like screaming through me, "We are not okay. We're sick of being repressed. We just want to like unleash." And there was like this unleashing, this like furling of this like wild woman within me.
yeah,
It just needed to be let out. And I said, from that day forward, I will have a voice in this space. I will have a voice for myself. I'm going to, unshackle myself and my ancestors, because we've been repressed and oppressed for so long sexually, in life,
yeah,
and sexually. This is not okay. And so for me, it's gone, okay, well, what does that look like? And discovering what sacred sexuality, if I can get my words out, actually meant for me, because
yeah,
it wasn't taught to us in school. My mom didn't sit me down and be like, oh, by the way, this is pleasure. By the way, this is how you touch yourself. By the way, this is what a vibrator does or a dildo does. This is what's going to turn you on. None of that.
no,
I remember one time I was probably, I don't know, like late primary school, early high school, and I was homesick from school. And that's when all the dirty movies were on in the middle of the day. And I remember lying on the couch sick. I'd been watching Judge Judy, and then like some kinky show comes on, and I'm like, why am I tingling? What's that? Why is that happening to me? I couldn't ask anyone.
yeah,
I didn't even know who to
yeah,
turn to, because I just felt that it was wrong, because it wasn't spoken about, that it was so taboo. And for so long, I was like, it feels good, but I don't know what to do with it. I don't know if this is okay. And you can't talk to your friends about it, because you don't know if that's the done thing. And so you just kind of keep it all to yourself and you go on this like private inner journey of exploration, thinking that everything that you're feeling is wrong. And so for me, it started at a very young age, and then, just multiple relationships and sexual partners, and like just going through this phase of like, someone just get me off, please, because I was so disconnected from myself. And so, oh gosh, it's been such a journey that I've been on that's brought me into this space. And now like the bar is set phenomenally high. The boundaries are so strong because it's like, unless someone is prepared to meet me there, then I'm not relating with them.
The funny thing is, right? Yeah, and this is, I'm going to capture the word here because people go, you said the bar is phenomenally high, but the bar is very easy to reach.
Yes,
For the right person.
For the right for the right person. Like there is a right person, and he's just like, I see your bar, I'll meet you there.
Meet you there, yeah.
Exactly. I tell you now, he's in the Tantra space. Like he gets it.
He gets it, right? And this is how it's just a decision. It's just a choice. You're one decision away from changing the whole game.
Yeah.
One decision. If your relationship is in a ship right now, if you've got disconnection, if you've got intimacy issues, you've got sex issues, you are one call away or one email away from a whole different experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. It's true. And it's going to be a journey, and it's going to be a pleasurable, playful, dark, messy, wild, all of the things, orgasmic journey. And that's what it's all about, because we can't sit here and say that it's easy or hard, because that's a subjective perspective. Like that doesn't even exist. It's going to be all of the things.
Yeah.
It's going to be an invitation to continue going inwards, like walk into your guilt, walk into your shame, walk into your erectile dysfunction, walk into your shadow work, walk into your mummy issues, walk into the fact that you felt so put down by your ex. Go into it. Go fuck into it.
Yeah. And then
and then watch it transform.
And again, we're saying this because we've experienced it.
Yeah.
And when you experience it, you'll get it. You will go, oh, I was just saying, welcome home.
Hello.
That's what I got. I got a welcome home.
We have been waiting for you, dear ones.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's an amazing space. So we're now in.
We are, and it's so easy to do. And I just want to reiterate, but just because Greg and I are in this space and we're there and we have, I see white stars, you see blue stars, all of, whatever it is, we still every day get to work on that for ourselves as well. Just because we have these experiences doesn't mean we're exempt from, still having guilt and shame or issues around vulnerability or, whatever the thing is. Like, we're still in it too. We're still in the experience. We're still working through things with our respective partners to be like, okay, I'm butting up against this something, or like there's a part of my cycle that I'm in that I just feel absolutely feral and I don't want to be touched. There's always going to be there, but we've got the tools. We understand how to move through it. And so if there's any wisdom we can impart, is that just because we're here doesn't mean we're exempt from the shit show. But, come on the journey with us. We get it. We've been there, done that, got the fridge magnet and the tea towel to mop up the mess.
But that's the welcome home. That's the welcome to the shit show. Rather than the exploration. That's the thing. I said, well, it's messy. Like, that's the point of it. But that's the place where you grow the most. It's that, it's a beautiful, beautiful space to sit there with a partner. I hate the word soulmate. A partner that can actually just bother with us that anymore. But just in that space with I say twin flame, it killed me down.
No.
It's
don't even
go there. But I love this topic, and we will go more into this because we'd love to hear your questions. We might even we could go live on this one night as well. To just go completely open pattern with this, just random stuff. But we love to hear your comments on this. We love to hear you respond to this because this is a very important topic because it's what we're all looking for.
Yeah, it's so true. Everyone that I've spoken to that I've said I'm doing Tantra either is like, oh my God, tell me about it, or let me know when you're coaching, or what is it? And then I mention it. They're like, holy shit, I'm in. Like, people are curious about this. There is such a need for this. Like, I can work with women from women's perspective, we need other male facilitators out there having these conversations with men. But when you go through this journey, whether it's Tantra or whether it's spirituality, whether it's other versions of sexuality, whatever it is, let's open the conversation. Let's
Yeah.
talk about these things, because we need this. Like, the humanity needs this right now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, what are we going to do from here, Jen?
We're asking a question about like a takeaway question for the listeners. So what question have you got that the listeners can take away and ask themselves today?
What's holding you back from making that choice?
I love it. My question is, what turns you on? Get to know what that is.
Good one. Good one.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah.
Polar opposites, those questions.
We're really, I love the balance of our masculine and feminine. There's
Right.
the wide open invitation to message us on either the podcasting platform that you're listening on or YouTube. Pop a comment in. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, so Intuition and Orgasm Podcast, which is the handle. Send us messages on there. We love to hear from you guys, and obviously leave us a rating and review, subscribe, and do all of the things. If you feel as though someone needs to hear this, especially your partner, share away. Share with your mom, share with your dad, share with your sister, share with your boss. Like, get uncomfortable. Where you grow.
Jen, as always, with purposes, but it's like we've been doing this forever. Love it.
We'll be back. We'll be back in a fortnight. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. We hope you loved it, and the biggest compliment that you can give us is leaving a rating and review. If you would like to get in touch with us, please feel free to reach out via our Instagram page, Intuition and Orgasms Podcast. We will see you in the next episode.